Welcome back to Caught Above the Curtain. I am on the south side of the Rea Aqueduct. We're going to continue our walk with poor Whitewick just up ahead. Try not to fall over. This is if you saw the last video on this, you'll understand it was quite overgrown. This looks a lot clearer actually. I probably shouldn't say that right now, but if you haven't seen the first video, have a look at it. That River Rea Aqueduct is breathtaking. It's quite remarkable. I can't believe kind of how that's still standing in its state. The mix of sort of just grand architecture and sort of collapse is such a great sight. But we're walking now off towards Newnham Tunnel. Is it next?
Yes.
And then another aqueduct. Yeah. So the first thing we've really come across on this section is the canal. Comes across here. We did come across here, and then we've got the Hereford and Shrewsbury Railway, which cuts through. They didn't really care about the canal. The canal was gone, no bridges, nothing like that, just carved through the middle of it. So walking away from the railway, you're in quite deep cuts here. You can see the tops down there. Look, we'd have been in probably the bed of the canal. It's probably a little bit higher than what it would have been with stuff sort of coming into it over the years. Then up over this gate, and you come into some fields, and you can actually see the contour. See the cut in the canal, and it ran sort of across to the middle of this field here. You can still see the level, and in the next field I'll try and show you as well, you can see the level as it runs across as well. You probably can't see it on this camera, but if you look at the big tree there on the end of this little woodland, the one standing on its own, and you follow just out from its space, you can see kind of a line to the middle of the field where we just were. And then that big tree line in the background, the canal line is up in there. It kind of snakes around back up into there and drops down towards the aqueduct. So we're walking down through the line now, through an embankment we just found. We're looking for Newnham Tunnel. That'll be covered in another video. So the year after Dafydd was appointed, he was also appointed the engineer on the Monmouthshire Canal. As part of that contract, he had to give 3/4 of his time to the Monmouthshire Canal and only 1/4 of his time to the Leominster Canal. And I think this is quite apparent in a lot of things, from the criticism from Rennie through to a lot of the issues that the canal had. There just wasn't enough time for him to concentrate and do anything that he needed to do on this canal. One of the findings that Rennie had was poor workmanship and lack of leadership. So the portal for Newnham Tunnel is just through the gap there. You can see the line of trees and where it's dug out. This is the canal bed here. And through there. For more on that, please watch my other video on the tunnels. So we're just at the other port of Newnham Tunnel. You can see that on the other video, and we're walking along down what was the line. Now I'm not convinced that was the edge of the tunnel. I think it was probably further along here, and it's collapsed at some point. But very impressive. You'll have to watch the video to find out though. So we're now going on towards another culvert or aqueduct. We're not too sure exactly what it is. It's further down this line, and what happens very soon is you'll find that the canal disappears, and the reason for that is the railway company, when they bought the canal line, they basically just used it as a track bed. So while I've got your attention, please do click like and subscribe, click the bell button, and you'll see my future videos then. Also there's a join button down there now and a super thanks button, so if you want to support the channel, this video alone has taken me I don't know, about 10 hours worth of driving. I've made 2 visits up here. I spent probably 15 hours on the ground recording, and it's probably going to be, I don't know, 18 hours worth of editing by the time I finished all 3 of the videos that you're going to get from this. So as you can tell, that's a lot of time. So any donations you can make are greatly appreciated, and you'll have the love of a fat man forever. Thank you. So we're now looking for the Cornbrook Aqueduct. We're on a massive embankment, and we're not too far from the Cornbrook itself, which runs in this valley down here. I can see the water actually down through the gap there. So somewhere here was a huge wall of an aqueduct, and Paul, that just drops off right there. We're here. This has been blown up.
When
so
blew it up.
Yeah.
Blew it up.
So what happened was it got blocked, and they literally blew it up. We weren't too sure what we were going to find here, and I think we've got our answer already. Wow. Yeah. There it is. Whoa, that's well high.
God. I tell you what, Steve, be careful, because that could slip at any point.
Yeah. So I'm going to get my camera over it. I hope you can see the scale of this. It's it's tall, it's very high. So we're upstream now. We may see more on the other side because any brickwork that was left may have got washed down through. But yeah, so that got blocked on. Oh no, I can see it. It's down there, Paul. Down there, down through that gap. There is the keystone on the top there, and the side walls of it.
The canal's up here.
Yeah, that's how big it was. So we just dropped down this embankment, trying to kind of just get down the stream so we can have a better look up through to what I thought was a keystone. We've just found this. This is much further down than the last bit. And yeah, there we go. That's the original entrance to this culvert rather than an aqueduct, you know. So this bank looks like it's literally just been exploded. So yeah, you can see the rest of this aqueduct here, or culvert here, and just this massive hole. So this must have been where it was blocked, and they've just dynamited it out. So the canal was much higher up here on the top of this embankment. That's really quite impressive. Not sure how well we can see here, but that's the arch there. Back across to here, to the back end of this arch. This would have originally been built all the way through here. You can see the side walls down there and part of the curve. And hopefully the tunnel just below. I can't emphasize how big a hole this is, how big a crater it is. It's quite impressive, really. Just jumping across to the other side now. I don't know if this even really puts the scale of it. I'm right at the top again now on the canal bed. And you can see they've done exactly the same. They've blown this side out as well. Left another small arch there. It's amazing. So I'm just following Paul up these steps, which are slightly interesting. We'll leave it at that. So we're off now to the, I think it's a Teme Aqueduct it's called. You need to get onto Paul's channel. I'll link that in the bottom and give him a subscribe. His videos are much better than mine. You'll enjoy it. So what we've got here is an old railway. Now this railway was in fact, so it's railway obviously there and there. This was once canal behind me. So when the canal company it was never really successful canal. They sold the line for £12,000, and that was basically returning to the investors just a small amount of £16 per £100 of share. So it really didn't do well for the investors. They never got paid a dividend. So it was quite a catastrophic canal for anyone invested in it. This bit was sold for £548, I believe, and is a different railway. It's not the Herefordshire and Shrewsbury Railway. It's something like the Bewdley line. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll try and put it in the bottom. Unfortunately, I've left my phone with the notes in. But what you're going to see now as I cross this stile is a massive embankment. And this is the old canal bed. You can see Paul up there now, walking down it. And you can see where the canal would have cut into the railway line, or the railway line cut into the canal across there. And this was just left. It was at a perfect height, obviously, for the canal, for the railway. So happy days. So as you can see on this high embankment, we're crossing through a valley, and there's a river just across there. So that's the River Teme. So they had to build an aqueduct across it. And what they built was a 3-arch aqueduct. The arches were 45 metres each. And it was quite an impressive structure until World War, when this was once part of a stop line, and what they were trying to do was practice what would happen in the event of a German invasion. Here we are. So there's a visitor book for you to sign. I'll have a look to see if there's a pen in there. I'll put my name in if there is. So we've dropped down into the River Teme now. And as you can see, there's the aqueduct here. It's a 3-arch aqueduct. You can't really see the arch on the left because it's so overgrown, but the middle one is collapsed. You've got the bracing bars on this like you do on the River Rea, and they basically drill all the way through. And then you have the stars kind of on the sides which hold it together and pull it into one piece. This was partly due to Rennie's report. He claimed it had insufficient foundations, and the aqueduct was braced to support itself. It was 3 arches, as I say, 35-foot spans, built with brick and ashlar, and has been grade 2 listed since 2000. And it was part of a stop line in World War II. So the central arch was destroyed during a training exercise. This happened on the 29th of May 1941 as part of exercise Hops. It was also called the Battle of the River Teme. It was done by the 216 Army Royal Engineers, and you had the 31st and the 36th Infantry Brigades as enemy, and the 53rd and 54th as defenders. They also had dive bombers with bags of flour. It took 3 attempts to destroy the arch. The first try was by the Home Guard. They failed. The second try was by the Royal Engineers. They failed. And eventually they had to call the Clay Hill Quarry and bring down Mr. Ellis, who was a shopman at the quarry, and he eventually destroyed the aqueduct. Coming through on this other side now, you can kind of see the destruction and the bricks everywhere. It's quite shallow here. You've got like a quite stone bit on the sides, but it's nice to come over and get on the other side. Again, you can't really see the sort of the right hand side here. It's quite overgrown, but there is a third arch. So again, Rennie was quite critical of this aqueduct. He stated that the foundations were inadequate and it was going to fall down any minute basically. But if you look at it now, it has fallen down. But it took not just nature taking it down, not just use. It took the Home Guard to fail, it took the Royal Engineers to fail, and it took the shopman from the local pits up at Clay Hill to come down and actually blow this up. I think that's pretty hard going, really. And what a magnificent structure it is. You can see just in the riverbed here, parts of the old bridge. There's a large section just right in the middle there, and a few smaller bits here. That had just been left where it exploded. So here we are on the last section that we're going to cover on these videos. And this was one of the last sections to open. Little did they know that the canal was going to be a complete failure, both in the way it was built and the way that it just made no money. They had the collapse at the tunnel and various other things that happened, and it went nowhere. So in 1794 the canal reached Wooferton, I'm not too sure, which is just next to me here. I'm not entirely sure where the terminus was at the time. And then the year later, they finally got to the Putnell Field tunnel from Wooferton, but the tunnel was still not ready. So the tunnel itself didn't open until 1796, and it took quite a while to get to that point. It was just, they had trouble with sand coming in and lots of other things. It was a complete and utter failure, really. I can just see some brickwork down here, and we are by a stream here, so this may be one side of the aqueduct we're looking for, the Brimfield Aqueduct. Before I take you to the aqueduct, which is just behind us here, you got the Brimfield stream running down here as well. This canal ran to Leominster, so although we're not covering the line, I would like to show you Leominster Wharf. So this is the buildings here. Now this was the old coal wharf. It actually sits just outside Leominster. It doesn't go into the town itself. The eventual aim was to drop down on a series of locks down into Leominster, and then to come back up out again to go off towards the rest of the canal. There were troubles for all of that. The first one being there was the Great Floods of 1795, which washed away several aqueducts, where work had been started on that end. The other problem was Leominster itself. Now, they proposed to do a bypass of Leominster, so Leominster would actually become just like a branch of the canal, which the people of Leominster didn't like. So we've just come off the canal line, which is just that tree line there, and you can already see signs that there was something here. There's lots of bricks in this stream. It's almost dammed it up around here, look. Plenty of cattle in here as well by the looks of it. Got some bricks just there, like in the middle. As well as dotted around everywhere. And if you look just into the background there, I can't get any closer to this because it's all fenced off. But you have the aqueduct there. So when John Rennie came in 1795, he found this partially rebuilt. And he criticised it as having absolutely no clearance over the Brimfield Brook. So it's a bit of a siphon aqueduct rather than a culvert. I'm going to end this one here. This has been a truly fascinating canal. I hope you have enjoyed the 3 videos we've made, and I hope you've been onto Paul's channel and watched his videos as well. What a truly fantastic canal. Absolutely nothing, and then suddenly these structures that just pop out at you, and just a bit of everything. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.